What is going on, everyone? My name is Tim Williams. It is Monday, September 27th. We have two MLB slates to break down here. It is the final week of the MLB season. I just want to say quickly thank you to everyone who has reached out, who have supported, who has subscribed. This has been one hell of a journey. It's been super fun. I definitely will continue making these videos in the future. I'm really excited about next season as well, but we have some other sports that I would like to get more involved with, football being one of them, hockey possibly. Yeah, and maybe a little NBA too. We'll see. Maybe we'll do some reviews of lineups, things like that, other things that can help me grow this channel. So big shout out and thank you to everyone. Yeah, so let's talk some baseball here. We have two slates today on this Monday, September 27th. Very small slates. The early one is a 3-gamer, and then we have a night slate that is a 2-gamer. So I just figured why not make one video having both slates involved. So we have 5 total games we're going to go over here, and we'll start with the first one. First one we have to talk about is the White Sox and the Tigers. White Sox are favorited here, 9.5 over under. Keuchel taking on Manning. Keuchel 7.3K. Not a ton of upside here. I typically don't like taking lefties against the Tigers anyway, but Keuchel 13% strikeout rate, 56.2% ground ball rate, 44.7% hard contact. So yes, he gives up a ton of hard contact, albeit it is via the ground ball. He's not going to strike you out really. He has a tendency to walk guys here, so keep that in mind. Right-handed batters have a 192 ISO against him. However, keep in mind he only has a 22% fly ball rate though, so kind of just a better in real life type of pitcher. On the other side, Manning 7.8K. That feels a little bit too pricey. White Sox definitely one of the better teams on the slate by far. Manning similar to Keuchel, 13.4% strikeout rate, 45.9% hard hit contact. So he's getting hit hard quite a bit. Throws his slider 29% of the time to right-handed batters, only 6% to left-handed batters. So we'll talk about that when we're looking at our bats. But as far as pitching goes, it's going to be hard to get to either here. Manning feels too pricey, bad matchup. Keuchel, I just don't think there's a ton of upside. So let's talk bats. Jimenez at 4.1K, probably my favorite bat here for the White Sox. 287 ISO versus right-handed pitchers that throw sliders. So 29% of Manning's pitches are the sliders to right-handed batters. So keep that in mind. Hernandez, I think I'll go kind of lower owned, 3.4K. He has a 244 ISO versus right-handed pitchers with sliders. Robert, I think we're going to have plenty of salary on the slate, given the pitchers that we have. So Robert definitely in play at 5.6K, 184 ISO against righties with sliders. Grandal 5K. I think that's a nice pay up as well. Manning also throws a fastball sinker very often, which Grandal has a 313 ISO against. So I really love these 4 bats. And if you're going for a 5-man stack, there's other options. I don't mind Zach Collins as a punt catcher play. So on the other side, for the Tigers, Haas is my favorite bat here at 4.3K, 362 ISO versus left-handed pitching, 429 ISO versus left-handed pitching, fastball sinkers, which Keuchel throws. Haas only hits these pitches into ground balls about 22% of the time. So that's the key here too, because Keuchel throws a ton of ground balls. Haas does not hit into as many ground balls, unlike his teammates. So I like Haas as a one-off, really. We just saw the lineup. It just came out this morning. Scope is in the mix at 4.2K. 51% ground balls versus left-handed pitchers, though. So he is hitting into ground balls about half the time, which plays to Keuchel's strength. Goodrum, I don't mind him at 3.1K as a punt. He hasn't really looked all that great. Typically, he does hit lefties better than righties in general, but shortstop's pretty thin. It's pretty weak. But if I had to take anybody in the Tigers, it's definitely going to be Haas as a one-off at the very least. Next, we have the Pirates and the Reds, 9 over under here on this early slate. Overton just got announced as the pitcher for the Pirates at 6.1K. I don't like that a ton. 24% strikeout rate, 9.3% walk rate. He's only going to pitch probably 1, 2, 3 innings. That's about it. So I am off of him. Tough matchup anyways against the Reds, who are the favorites. San Martin got the call up today, 6.3K. He came over in that trade with Sonny Gray, so pretty cool for him to get called up. He's only given up 6 home runs in 100 innings in the minors this season, which is pretty notable. He has a super easy matchup. I'm sure he's faced better AAA and AA teams than what the Pirates are currently rolling out there. So 26% strikeout rate in AAA, which is quite nice. I think it was higher in AA. So he usually only goes about 5 innings per start. So it depends on how effective he is on the mound today. I typically don't like to take pitchers making their debuts, right? Because there could be nerves, etc. However, I don't mind it here mainly because it's a 3-game slate and he has some sprinkle of upside, certainly is more upside than a Dallas Keuchel type. So sign me up for some San Martin. I'll take it. I'm sure he'll be somewhat chalky or owned because he is facing the Pirates. I don't like any Pirates bats here today. I guess if there's one, it would be Kevin Newman at shortstop, but I'm not I'm not highly recommending him. But if you need somebody, sure, he is in play. On the Red side, I think they're really strong for cash games if you were building cash lineups. I had Schrock in there originally at 2.7K. It's really nice value. Originally, Ponce was supposed to start this game. He might see some time in the game anyways after Overton. If he does, Schrock is a very nice play at 2.7K, 250 ISO versus right-handed pitchers who throw the fastball cutter, which Ponce throws 20% of the time to lefties. But like I said, if Overton starts, I'm off Schrock. I think he's going to be somewhat highly owned. He's hitting in the 2-hole. Votto is in the lineup today at 5.7K. That seems like a really, really strong play. Castellanos at 5.4K, probably a must in cash due to how hot he has been. A ton of upside there. I mean, there's other guys on the Reds I think that are in play. I think Farmer's going to be super high owned at shortstop, so that makes for an easy fade for me. He hit a grand slam yesterday. Typically, that will bring some ownership. On a 3-game slate, though, I'm going to try to maybe stay away from the Reds in the large field GPPs, but they're in a really good spot here. The Pirates bullpen is very, very bad. So yeah, Reds look pretty good today, I must say. Next and final on the early slate, 9 over under here. Kawar taking on Quantrill. We'll start with Kawar, 5.3K. 18.8% strikeout rate here, 18.8% walk rate. That is very strange, but here we are. He's been a little bit better as of late, but really just struggles more against left-handed batters. Throws his fastball about 60% of the time, and we'll get into that with the bats. But Quantrill, 8.6K, 19.7% strikeout rate here. Probably the other pitcher that has the most upside on the slate, or maybe the number one pitcher on the slate, which here we are, will probably be the highest owned for sure. 36% hard contact, which is actually kind of low comparing to a lot of or most major league starters. Probably the best and highest owned pitcher here, like I just talked about. But on the Royals side, I don't love it, but if you're punting, I really don't mind Isbell here at 2.2K. He's hitting right-handed pitching very well over the last week or so. So talking about guys who are kind of hot, hitting the ball well, he is one of them. Benintendi, I think, can play here as a lefty at 4K. I think he's fine. I personally probably won't get there, but I can see why you would. Dozier, 2.7, really just a dart throw. He hits right-handed pitchers who throw sliders fairly well, but he does strike out a lot. So there is some high risk, high reward there. So those are the kind of Royals bats. Yes, there's some other guys in play for sure. I mean, you can pay up for some of those studs, but I really wanted to highlight some of these lower bottom of the order guys. On the other side for the Indians, Ramirez, probably my favorite bat on the slate, or one of them at 6K. Easy spend up right there. 393 ISO versus right-handed pitching on the year. This guy can just on 3-game slates or 4-game slates, whatever, this guy can just mash the baseball and really can be a game changer. So it's going to be hard for me to fade him today. Reyes at 5K. I'd rather spend the money elsewhere, but he has a ton of upside, which is great. Zimmer at 2.3. If he is in the lineup, he hits the fastball very poorly. Kawar throws the fastball about 60% of the time, so he could just pepper fastballs in. But Zimmer hits changeups very, very well. Kawar throws a changeup a lot of the time. So It is what it is. He's a punt play at 2.3K, but I really like Ramirez in this game in general. So that'll do it for the early slate. But yeah, now we're going to get into the night slate, which is a two gamer. The Nationals will be taking on the Rockies in Coors Field, 11.5 over under here. This might be one of those times where you kind of have to play the best plays here, right? And just hope and kind of get different with one or two guys. Nationals are throwing Gray out there with Marquez on the other side for the Rockies. We'll start with Gray here at 6.7K, 24.3% strikeout rate, 11.5% walk rate. Not great. He has strikeout upside, but man, this dude just gives up fly balls 52% of the time, giving up fly balls. I wanted to highlight over the last 30 days, Gray has a just under 18% strikeout rate here, near 17% walk rate. So strikeouts are down, walks are up. Maybe he's gassed a little bit. He is a young pitcher. 297 ISO, two left-handed batters, 330 ISO power, two right-handed batters. So just giving up a ton of power. Throws the fastball about 60% of the time, which we'll circle back to. Marquez at 8.2K. Feels like he's going to be popular here, right? But I typically don't like to take pitching against the Nationals. They're kind of stingy, but Marquez 24% strikeout rate here, 50.8% ground ball rate, pardon me, 14% strikeout rate over the last 30 days. So he's really been struggling a lot. He's also been really struggling against left-handed batters as of late. For the Nationals, I really like Soto here at 6K, right? Obviously, he's one of the better hitters in baseball, probably the best hitter on the slate, right? 413 ISO against right-handed pitching over the last 30 days. Same thing with Bell. Bell at 5.3K. Yeah, it feels expensive, but it's only two games we have to worry about. You can easily fade Marquez and just play pitchers in the next game, which we'll get into, but Bell himself, 328 ISO against right-handed pitching over the last 30 days. Ruiz, really nice spend up here at catcher. He's been super, super hot, just double-digit fantasy points pretty much each game over the last week. The only Nationals hitter who hits a low percentage of ground balls by clearly a wide margin. I think it's like sitting around 25%. These other guys hit into a ton of ground balls, but they're also all patient hitters. So Ruiz, for that reason, I think he's the best catcher on this two-game slate. I think he might be somewhat popular. I'm not really sure. We don't have like ownership or anything to look at right now. It is a two-game slate, so pick whoever, right? Thomas at 4K, if you're feeling super, super saucy. I don't love the price, but it is Coors Field. He's been hitting better as of late. But if I'm going a three-man stack, obviously it's going to be Soto, Bell, Ruiz. Those are just clearly the best plays there. On the Rockies side, the one bat I really, really love here, and he's so underpriced, and man, I hope he is in the lineup today, is Hilliard at 2.6K. Like we said, Gray throws his fastball 60% of the time. Hilliard at 2.6K. Look what we got here. 363 ISO versus right-handed pitchers who throw the fastball. That is insane. At home in Coors. Love it. And then we'll talk about the curve. Gray also throws a curve. Hilliard as a 296 ISO versus right-handed pitchers who throw a curve. This guy could easily hit one or two bombs today in Gray with Gray on the mound. I just think the Rockies are clearly the best stack on this two-game slate. I'm sure many people will. It's going to be really hard to fade them. I'll be honest. McMahon looks awesome at 4.5. Story looks great at 4.8. I know he's been kind of struggling a little bit this past week, but Crone as well at 3.7K kind of gets you away from Bell, or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe you play Bell and you fade Crone and get to other Rockies here. I mean, I think you could take any hitter. Blackman at 4.7. That's one way to get different with your Rocky stacks, is just take some of the guys toward the back of the order that are probably going to be lower owned. But yeah, love me some Rockies. I do have interest in the Nationals here as well. Next and final of these two-game slate tonight, 8.5 over under here. It is a late slate. Irvin taking on Flexen. Irvin at 7.2K. Just not a good pitcher, but might be. He's definitely in play. 16.3% strikeout rate here, 42% hard contact, which isn't great. He definitely has some games where he can get you like 15, 20 points. That's what you're kind of hoping for, I guess. Here, Flexen on the other side at 8.7K. I hyped him up last time. He got 30 DraftKings points. I don't like taking pitchers who are facing the same team they just faced their last start, but here we are, 2-game slate. So I have interest in Flexen. Yes, I'll spend up for him. 15.8% strikeout rate, which isn't great, but Flexen is a guy I typically don't like to roster, or I mean, not roster, but play hitters against. I actually like Flexen in a lot of spots. I think the ballpark is fine. Both Irvin and Flexen don't give up a ton of ISO power to hitters, so I think you could easily just take these two and then sack the other game. But who knows? Who knows what the plan is, right? Marte 5.7K. If you have salary, I think he's in a decent spot here. Olsen at 5.5. I like him a lot. Really nice pivot from first base. I don't know what people are going to do with the other Coors game, but 236 ISO versus right-handed pitching. I mean, don't be afraid to take one hitter against one of your pitchers, especially on a 2 or 3 game slate, even like a 5-game slate. I mean, it's negative EV, but it might get you a little bit different than a lot of these other lineups. Maybe some people are scared to take one batter against the pitcher, but you have to get creative. You have to think differently on these slates. Seager at 4.3K. Irvin throws his slider to left-handed batters, primarily only left-handed batters. Seager pretty decent against the slider here, 184 ISO versus right-handed pitchers who throw sliders. And then Murphy at 3.1K. I think he's going to go super unlooked and unowned. The price is nice. 227 ISO versus left-handed pitching. It really will get you different at catcher. I think other people are going to be taking Ruiz or whoever the Rockies are going to roll out. So I think that's kind of interesting there. Yeah, so that'll do it. Those are the 2 games. So we have the 3-gamer on the early one, and then the 2 games for the late one. Feel free to reference the video for the later slate if you're playing. So that'll do it. Thank you so much. I hope you had a good NFL Sunday. It was super fun to watch. That game last night with the Packers 49ers was awesome. So hopefully now that baseball is coming to a close, I will change it up, try something new, do some NFL content. So yeah, let's have some fun. Good luck today. Peace out. Make sure you're subscribed.